You're such an asshole.
AssholeConsulting.com. Continuing on, young man writes, I would like to remain anonymous since I live in Canada, and I don't blame you, given how increasingly anti-free speech and throw you in jail if you say the wrong things about the wrong people. Kind of Dr. Jordan Peterson kind of exposed that, like, oh, really? That's going to be a violation of the Human Rights Commission? You seem like more of a political infovore than me. I'm Canadian and graduating from university soon. I read your book, Enjoy the Decline, years ago. It changed my outlook on life and made me much less materialistic. Good. I'm trying to find a decent country with a lower tax burden than Canada or the United States, where I could put a graduate degree in synthetic biology to good use. Synthetic organisms do profitable things like make artificial fuels and produce drugs. I asked Hans Hermann Hoppe, where he would move if he were going to try and avoid political turmoil. He said Switzerland, New Zealand, Australia, Thailand would be his first choices. I'm inclined to agree. I have some others. I'm going to provide a link down below to a video called Where Should White People Move? Or Where Should White People Live? And so it goes through the whole globe, but I don't want to repeat that here because I have a different idea, but I want to also specifically address your request. Because the political system seems more resistant to Eurocommunism than other social experiments. They managed to not get involved in World War II, so I think they will avoid getting involved in EU and its problems. Australia and New Zealand have similar political and economic problems to Canada, and New Zealand has the Maori Party, which is explicitly racial, which is a huge red flag for political stability. Canada is toast. According to the Heritage Foundation, we are economically freer than the United States. Yeah, barely. This seems mostly true, which is not saying much, but politics is downstream of culture, and the Canadian state media promotes anti-capitalism. Anti-capitalism will eventually become a mandatory part of Canadian identity by fiat eventually, just like multiculturalism was legislated into being part of our identity. Strangely enough, we are not supposed to have a core identity or a mainstream unless it's politically expedient for us to have one. Name your price. You are welcome to turn this into a video, blog post, or whatever you want. Yeah, I had hope with Stephen Harper, but then your millennials basically voted in George Bush Jr., but the Canadian version, you voted in a nepotist, and he's such a pussy. I know he did the boxing thing. I mean, he just has no spine. He just wants to love and be friendly with everybody, and he wants to increase your population, and the only way you're going to do that is through immigration. You guys don't have that much of a population. So I am, and what really scares me is your Human Rights Commission, which is the biggest euphemism and outright lie of a title I've ever seen. It's not that you guys are any mentally worse off than us. It's just you just don't have that big of a population. And thank God we got Trump, which for all of his faults and drawbacks, he ain't going to bend over to communist leftist bullshit. Your prime minister can't wait to ass rape all the Canadians financially and culturally. So I agree with you that Canada would definitely be, I wouldn't be there long term. I'm kind of even hesitant to go to Canada. Like what if, I remember riding my motorcycle up there, I didn't have a helmet, and this guy's flagging me down. He's like, you gotta wear a helmet. I'm like, oh, I didn't know. They'll confiscate your bike. I'm like, they're not gonna confiscate. Why didn't they give me a ticket? No. Your RMCP are fucking Nazis. It's like national police. I'm like, yeah. So, all right, let me go consult my notes here. I asked you if you're willing to change your career, because I'm sorry, anything with bio in it is not going to find you a job. All right? But let's say you insist on sticking with synthetic biology. All right. You're going to be stuck with countries that are first world and have the industry where there's going to be employment. And so that kind of limits it because, as you're well aware, the first world is just hell-bent on becoming mixed model economies where we have socialism and maybe there's a little bit of a private sector but more the mental insanity of what's your skin color, what's your gender, what's your race, and that's more important than anything else. So you listed New Zealand, Australia. I know you don't like their demographical makeup or the future outlook, but the lights only have to be on for 50 years in your case. Can they keep it together for 50 years? Maybe New Zealand, Australia, I don't know. Adam Piggott left that. But then I'd also suggest you look into these countries where their demographics are going to maintain their integrity, hopefully. You can't predict the future. But Poland, they said, no, we're not taking Muslim refugees. We're Polish, fuck you. And everyone's all pissed off at Poland, but oddly no one gets pissed off at China or Japan or the Asian countries. Hungary also did the same. The Baltics, a lot of people don't know, Lithuania, Latvia, and Estonia, they are actually quite pro-capitalist. And then Russia, even though highly corrupt, Putin ain't fucking around. Putin, you may not like Putin, and he has problems. You can't tell me he's not pro-Russia. He may live off of it, but don't tell me he's not pro-Russia. There are problems, though, with Poland, Hungary, the Baltics, and Russia, and that is you have a language barrier. So you're going to have to learn their language. Otherwise, if you want to capitalize on your career, all right, you've invested that amount of time and money into it. I think it's a worthless degree. I don't think you're going to find a job or a career that's worthwhile. I've never known anyone with bio anything in their degree that has had a successful career that didn't involve tumult, chaos, and bullshit. You're still going to have to go United States, or the former British Empire, the UK, Ireland, mainland Europe where they speak English, maybe the Netherlands or something. That's just where you're going, your degree, because that's where the industry is. You could go to Switzerland. There's some bio industry there, but you're going to have to learn a language. And yeah, I mean, come on down to the U.S. The U.S., I think, is going to outlast Canada, obviously, simply because we have such a larger population. And like I said, I'm just hoping that the lights stay on for 40 years. And then I'll be dead, and I really don't care what happens. I don't really care what happens to the country. Well, I care what happens now because I'm here. But the second after I'm dead, it can all go to pot. Just keep the water running and electricity on, and I'll be happy. The other thing you can do is you can go to some of the Asian countries. All right? And I'm skipping over a whole bunch of other stuff. Like the Nordic countries and all this, which you can watch in that other video, Where Should White People Live? But Singapore, Hong Kong, Malaysia, even Cambodia, Thailand, sure, but you can't own property there. And then, again, if you're willing to learn the language, you could try China, you could try Japan. But keep in mind, they have their own problems. Pollution. You will never be a first-rate citizen. I mean, everyone likes to say, oh, the Asians are so racist. Like, no, I think they just respect their culture and they want to be fucking Asian. South Korea is it's almost like the most advanced country, larger country in the world. But you got to learn Korean, and there's going to be huge cultural what's the word I'm looking for? Melting pot. You're going to have to adapt to the culture. And so you're going to want to travel a fair amount and figure out if you even want to live in these places. But in the meantime, in the here and now, I think you are relegated to Europe and North America, minus Mexico, to use your degree in any capacity. Now, so that's if you want to keep being the synthetic bioengineer. Now, if you're willing to change your career, or there's a way you can swing it that you still be a synthetic biologist, but you could do it remotely. If you could get any kind of remote work location, or remote work location-independent career, this opens up to what I believe is the ideal living scenario for anybody. This has nothing to do with everybody, regardless of your race. Guess what? You want to live where the white people live. I'm terribly sorry. That's just for the benefit of everyone. Do you want to live in Southside Chicago and get shot? No, you don't. It doesn't matter what your color is. Not that you want to go live up in Winnetka either, because that sounds boring as fuck. But the highest economic growth, the highest standards of living, blah, 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 lowest crime, all that other shit, it tends to be where the white people are. And now, okay, there's lower crime and higher economic growth with Asians, but again, now we all got to learn a fucking foreign language. So I'm trying, for us English speakers, where do you want to live? You want to live where the white people are and when there's relatively low debt and economic growth. But this is ideal, this is optimal for everybody, and it dispenses with the concept of I'm gonna be a citizen of this place. You have to be a citizen of somewhere, but that doesn't mean you bank there, live there, and have your career there. In other words, you become a digital nomad, as they like to call it. So the first thing I would do is change your career to become location independent. And what it allows you to do is optimize all the different career and financial aspects of your life using different countries for different purposes. So you being Canadian, I could be wrong, but correct me and look into this. I think being part of the Commonwealth, you are allowed to get citizenship in the Cayman Islands. maybe even Bermuda. Look into this, take a look, but you should be able to gain citizenship in a low to zero tax rate place. You can also go to like Nevis, St. Kitts, in the United States, Belize for Canadians as well. There's a lot of these smaller Caribbean type islands or little countries where you could get residency pretty dirt cheap. Maybe you have to buy a house there or something. Maybe you have to have a certain amount of investments in their bank, but they will give you residency and citizenship, and that's your tax rate, 0 or some paltry amount, all right? So you're a citizen of that, and maybe you do your banking there. Then you derive your income, because you're a digital nomad, from the first world countries which pay first world rates. Right? You're a computer programmer, you're a network engineer, you're an app developer, whatever. You're getting your income from the rich countries. Okay? Then you may want to live in these low tax countries, these tax emirates, these tax havens, if you will. But the problem with them, for the most part, when I did research and study, they're islands. They're boring. There's nothing to do. Oh, the Bahamas are great. They're warm. Yeah, for like a day or two, then you're like, I'm stuck on a fucking island. Cayman Islands, same thing. Bermuda. And you gotta fly out to these places, and they're far away. Belize, I think, is kind of interesting because it's at least attached to other countries. Like, I'm bored, let's go to Mexico. I'm bored, let's go to Guatemala or Honduras, or let's check out Panama. Panama's another one you might want to look into for favorable tax rates and residency. The point, though, being is there's not a lot to do in these small little countries. But that's all right. That's just where you have your residency and your citizenship and your banking. You then you get your income from first world countries, and then you go travel. You go travel to second, third world countries, safe second and third world countries, and maybe you live like now. Another guy you're going to want to look into is Andrew Hendrickson. He's Nomad Capitalist. Look into him, contact him, get his book. All right, just read his stuff. And I'd almost contact him once you're ready to move on this. Contact him and pay him to consult you. I go to him for advice. I'm like, what about this? That didn't go so. He's out there in Southeast Asia going around figuring out shit. He's an invaluable resource to young men and women who want to go and travel and escape, 50% tax rates, like you dipshits in Silicon Valley, where you're helping out the country. But then you just go and travel, and you almost don't need a property or a place to rest your head. You're just a wandering vagabond traveling around the world checking this out, and then all of a sudden you find out, like Thailand. A lot of Westerners like Thailand, cheap place to live. You can't own property there, but you can rent a place forever. You can go anywhere, like Roosh. Read Roosh's books, all of his bang guides. Not necessarily how to pick up chicks, but Dead Bat in Paraguay. All of his bang guides. It teaches you about the countries and traveling and having this nomadic lifestyle. That is kind of something that I can definitely see guys in their 20s and 30s doing. Inevitably, you're going to want to find a place to call home. And I think it takes at least a decade to travel around the world and figure out, like, oh, wow, I so love Gao. Or Gao. Gao? How's it pronounced? It's in India. Or I so love fuck it. Or I so love Sydney, for whatever reasons. You'll find this place that you belong, and then, do you need to own property? Not really. Airbnb, I mean, you could just live the rental lifestyle, and if it's dirt cheap, like your income comes from a first world country, but your favorite place is a dirt cheap third world country that's safe, well, what's your rent, $100 a month? I mean, I got these people telling me, more than one, they don't even do their laundry. They pay some gal in Thailand to do it. And they go pick up their laundry. They come back, the laundry's done. I'm like, I've never been so busy with my life I couldn't do my laundry. I'm like, how hard is it? You throw it, you hit the button, and then you put it in the dryer. I've never understood that. But that is the ideal neo-global citizen, if you will, that I think a lot of people, everybody, boys, girls, black, white, Hispanic, East Indian, doesn't matter. If you listen to this channel, we're a little bit above average. We're a little bit smarter than the average bear here. Not only is entrepreneurship ideal, but if you can get remote location, independent entrepreneurship, man, the world's your oyster. So that is something I would definitely look into. And you're a young man, you could travel. I'm getting a little too old. I still got a couple long bike rides in me. But then I think I'm gonna switch down just kind of traveling and taking a bus some places. But yeah, if I had the internet back when I was 20, we did, but I just wasn't smart enough to major in computer programming or in computer networking or something like that. But if you repurpose, get yourself a skill that can be location independent, you're not going to be dependent upon your synthetic biology degree and the old brick and mortar established companies that would employ you in countries that frankly tax you at a 50% tax rate. So that's what old Captain would do differently. Not that I'm not still aiming for it, but yeah, that's what I would do, and that's and it's worth go to night school. So find a job, get your money, start building up some cash. Like if you find a great job as a bioengineer, absolutely take it. Start saving up your money, but then buy some cheap ass property in Cambodia or something. So, all right, you guys got questions? Go to assholeconsulting.com. Read my books. You can find them on Amazon.com. And then tune into the Clary podcast, which is on SoundCloud.com. We'll see you guys later. Toodles.